Hello, everybody. So this is my vertical alignment presentation. Thank you guys for being here, and let's go ahead and get started. So my visual art standard that I'm going to be using as a baseline for this project is VA5CR1. This standard is engage in the creative process to generate and visualize ideas by using subject matter and symbols to communicate meaning. A subcategory of that is utilizing multiple approaches to plan works of art, incorporating imaginative ideas, universal themes, and symbolic images. It also applies available resources, tools, and technologies to investigate personal ideas through the process of making works of art. And lastly, produce multiple prototypes in the planning stages for a work of art. This could be sketches, 3D models, etc. So the interdisciplinary standard that I'm using as in connection with this is S5L2, which is obtain, evaluate, and communicate information showing that some characteristics of organisms are inherited and other characteristics are acquired. So, subcategories of that is ask questions to compare and contrast instincts and learned behaviors. Also, ask questions to compare and contrast inherited and acquired physical traits, which leads me into my next slide, which is the project or the content that I'm going to be using to connect those two standards is called a hide and seek the art of camouflage. In this project, students will learn how animals can camouflage themselves within their environment. They will discover the process of, wax resist as a medium. They will add texture using salt and watercolor, and the students will create a mixed media work about an animal that uses camouflage. So, again, just connecting back to that science standard where it's talking about the attributes of the animals, and then also connecting that visual arts piece by having them create their work of art. So when we look at extending and remediating learning, I do feel that this project in connection with the standards would be beneficial for students because it will allow them to create a visual representation of animals' defense mechanisms within their natural environments. For example, if you have a chameleon, how are you going to represent the way a chameleon is able to camouflage themselves in any background? You can even use the kids can even do an image of an octopus. There are several species of octopus that will literally transform themselves to look like a rock or transform themselves against corals to kind of blend in with their environment. So I really feel like between the standards of science and between the standard of the visual arts that we have here, they could really have a genuine connection with the material. So for PLCs, I do believe that vertical alignment should be used within PLCs. I believe that this strategy should be used because it would help to create consistency within the curriculum. It would also help with addressing any learning gaps that the students may have after beginning the unit. And that could be true for a couple of things. If we know in the beginning of August, hey, science teacher comes to me, Mr. Brown, we're going to be learning about science by September. We're going to be moving on. Could we do a project that is in connection to animals that are have camouflage as a defense mechanism? I would say, okay, absolutely. But what are some things that they were struggling with during this unit that I know you can't go back and teach, but maybe with that final project that last week, I can go ahead and say, all right, after talking to your teacher, these are some things that they told me that you had a hard time with. Let's look at these things. Okay, now go do your project. After you learn, okay, let's fill in those gaps. Let's really address the issues first, because the better they understand the content, the better their projects are going to turn out. So, some concerns that just kind of leads in. Well, this basically is connected to my last point, which is I would want to make sure that the academic teachers thoroughly taught the concepts. I feel like this would be essential for students' understanding of how to create their visual representation of the animals, as well as and that's no shade to the teachers. I think that with any type of assignment, any type of lesson that we are trying to teach, there's going to be students who are going to struggle. There's going to be students who are not going to fully understand the content, and that's okay. But that's why we have to collaborate and really, hone in on those weaknesses so that the students will be very successful. So, in terms of assessments, this project will be a part of their art portfolios and will be included into one of the work samples for their final portfolio grade. I love the use of portfolios. I think it makes, as an art teacher, I teach K through 5. I have, last year I had 453 students, and having them have their own separate portfolios made it so much easier on me to keep their work organized. It also helped to make them feel like this is a collection of my work. Is that there definitely was a sense of pride, and they were very proud of it by the end of the year. And on top of that, it makes it very easy for me to grade. Hey, listen, we're gonna do these three projects or four projects or five projects that's going to determine your final grade. Let's look at them. Bring me your portfolio. Also, I want to talk about something that Popham said. He said that one of the key ingredients to a classroom portfolio is for you to collect and store work samples. Students decide with teacher input what to collect. So, I'm all for collaborating with the students. So if I'm like, hey, I need you to choose, what I do is I'll just say, hey, choose your top three projects and we'll look at them. And if you met those standards and you did what you were supposed to do, and on top of just your overall behavior throughout the year or within that quarter, um, we'll be good to go. I think you will get a good grade. And it also helps them to look at their artwork and say, okay, this piece I was really good at. This piece, I don't know if I want to grade this one. So it gives them a sense of ownership over their artwork as well as includes them in the process of grading their work. So some meaningful experience that we as a class could participate in would be fostering a classroom environment that is focused on collaborative learning. For example, once the students finish their projects, I would have them present their projects and talk about what types of animals they chose to represent, the inspiration for their designs, and what they learned at the end of the project. So it's like, hey, what what did you learn about animals that use camouflage to cover themselves? What did you learn about about their environment? If a chameleon is in a rainforest, what are some of the natural predators that might try to attack them that would mean that they would have to use those defense mechanisms of camouflage to get through and live, essentially. So yeah, I think that that would be, having them present their work after we finished it, not only would help the students with their speaking skills, but also would help with their overall communication and them becoming very comfortable describing their artwork and their thought process on why they created what they created. So lastly, thank you. Just thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's presentations.